Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning. Once again, depending on the side of the world where you are, you could be watching me in the morning. This is God, Church, and Politics, and your host truly, PC, Pastor Chance. I would like to welcome you in a very special way. I've got the guests on the background, but before I bring them one favor, come on, tell somebody else, call their name, shout out who needs to be here. We are here to talk issues regarding the safety of the communities back home in Malawi. So I'll be talking to the people that are, in my view, custodians of the security around our communities, and who somehow sometimes have found themselves frustrated on the grounds of so many things happening, sometimes from the government side and everything else around it. But we want to really discuss in a further detail. Last week we started talking about this and we felt it was not good enough just to end in an hour. This is a discussion that could go on hours and hours. We have people that want to pour out. We want, because I do believe that before a preacher can go out, needs a message, and sometimes it just needs, such voices that cry out like the social workers. When they speak to you, the importance, the need of how we ought to protect our communities and everything else that goes with it, the legislation and registration and commanding and everything else. We're here to hear more from them. But before I bring them one by one, I want you, like I said, do me a favor, invite somebody else. We're here now. Surely, I'm pleading with the network, and I believe that the network is behaving itself. Be here. Let's do this together. All right. It's God, Church, and Politics. Once again, it's Chance, and I'll be back soon with every individual supposed to be here. Stay tuned. Let me do a shout out at the beginning. This man has always followed me, Christian Wedege. I don't know whether I pronounced your name right, but Christian has always followed. And you know what? This is one thing I like about you, Christian. Has a heart for our nation. Are you Malawian? You don't sound like. This guy is from Denmark. And by the way, we heard about the shootings in Denmark. Say something in the comments. Let me hear. Are you safe? Are you all right? To be here, that means you're okay. But Christian Wedege, it's a pleasure to have you. I've always seen you. You're always first in line. Man, I love you. Thank you so much for joining it. And I know, of course, you've got friends. Call them out. Let them come in. Let them come in. But you see, this is my respect for you. I do see you. Your comments, every comment that you put in, so valuable. Anyway, let me bring these people. I'm not alone. Trust me, I'm not alone. We've got these people on the background. Let's start with the man of God, Pastor Antonio. Greetings and welcome.
Thank you so much, Pastor P.
Actually it's Chance, by the way. That's Chance is my name. Okay, PC is a short form of Pastor Chance. But anyway, listen.
Okay.
I'm loving your vibe. I'm loving your, I feel like you're my brother now.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same too.
We need to connect more. You never know what the future holds. Hey, you might be visiting me. I might be visiting you. So let's see what happens. But it's a pleasure. Last week, I was so honored to have you. And I'm also honored to have you today. The president of Social Workers Organization. You're going to name it proper yourself. But welcome.
Yeah,
introduce yourself again, please. Say it again.
Association of Social Workers in Malawi.
Association of Social Workers in Malawi. Fantastic. You know what? I love it to know that this is a developing organization in my country. It fills me with joy. And at the heart of it, the man of God. Hey, what a joy. That's, you know what? You're going to tell me a thing or two. How did you find yourself at the top of this thing? I'm thinking surely it should be probably the likes of Margaret or Anstance at the heart of it. But hey, there's a man of God at the heart of it. We will talk more. Save your comments. Save your comments. Anstance, let's bring you second. Second is my own sister in the diaspora right over here with me, Anstance. Greetings and good afternoon to you.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks so much for joining us as we continue talking about the safety of children and vulnerable people in Malawi. So it's a privilege to see you again, Pastor Chance and Antonio. It's always lovely to see you.
Perfect. Great. Now listen, let's go to I was gonna go to Margaret, but it looks like Margaret is having network issues. So let's go to the big man himself. Ladies and gentlemen, in the house today, for the first time, we have the man. For some reason, it's not showing, but I can see him. Can you guys see the big man dancing MWAUNGULU at all?
No. So
okay.
You probably...
Let's try again. The network seems to be playing up here, but 1 second. Here we go. Let's try again.
I think, yeah.
No, he's here. Okay. It's just my for some reason my computer seems not to bring okay, let's try this. Can you he's you know, I wanna DUNSTAIN, if you can hear me. Oh, he's gone. Oh, there we go. We have him back. Let's go. Oh, there we go. Oh, this is Stefano. Stefano, welcome. Stefano, welcome. You're live. Stefano, can you hear me? You're live.
We can't see him though.
Oh, Stefano is live. I can see him. Stefano, I can see him. Can you see him? Stefano, we can hear you. Hello. Ah, he's gone.
Oh,
network issues. Network issues. We had DUNSTAIN, and for some reason, is it to do with my network or where you guys are? I know for sure where you are, Anstance. I think network again is a problem. Can you see me? Am I lagging at all?
I can see you, and you're sitting in front of so much sunshine, so we're missing your face. So you better close your curtain.
Right. Okay. So let me do this.
That's better.
Is this better?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, much better.
Right.
You've got too much sunshine in your face. That's okay. Perfect.
Okay. So here we go. I was trying to enjoy myself with the sunshine. I'm trying to let's put it that way. But anyway, Lufuna Pastor Antonio Sanje, you know.
I know it's very
but anyway, guys, it looks like we're having problems with the network. DUNSTAIN is coming back, by the way. 1 second, hold on. I really would love. Margaret is also coming in, but then I think Margaret, you know, said it earlier on. Network has been a problem. Let's see whether we can see DUNSTAIN. It's also, we can see spinning. Guys, once again, let me apologize to our viewers that if you're here, we will get ourselves, you know, going. Hopefully, you know, me and Pastor Antonio, we were saying, I think this is where we need to pray against this. You know, some network need to behave right here. Pastor Antonio, we need to shakalaka here, so some network can behave itself. I mean, this is not good.
We need deep tanks. We need deep tanks. These are obstacles.
Tongues filled of the Holy Ghost. Hey, anyhow. But listen, guys, we can kickstart this thing, and I believe that, you know, as they come in, then we can get today. Much as what I'm of the view what Anstance was saying. We needed that side of the law, and that's why we have the big man coming in, where he can be able to interpret certain things, or, you know, just have us in the know about, all the fracas that's probably even stopping this organization becoming, established like we all were crying out last week. But look, the network is not doing us good. Let's kickstart. Anyhow, let's kickstart. In the sense that I'm going to try and bring them on. Margaret, I don't know whether she can hear us. Margaret, can you hear us?
Oh, hi, guys. Yes, I had to change my network to Airtel because TNM didn't see me.
Wow, good to have you. Now you're clear. And, wow, you must be loaded, Margaret. You can swap networks like that.
Well, I must say I should thank God indeed. It's a privilege indeed in Malawi to be able to have such.
Amen. I'm just loving the fact that you are here and you attempted to really be here. It's a joy and honor. It was good to have you last week. Good to have you again this week. Like you're saying, like I've been saying, everybody's trying to come in. Network issues are not really helping, but hopefully we're going to have everybody with us. I've got now Stefano. Let's see whether we can have him. There we go. Stefano, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can. How are you?
Powerful. Now we've got our man. Our man is able to talk now. Can you hear
Finally.
Me? Finally.
Smaggy, how are you people?
Very good. How are you, Stefano?
I'm good.
Let's get talking. The main man who somehow we are privileged to have today, DUNSTAIN MWAUNGULU, is trying to get in, but internet is not helping. I thought it was only in Malawi where we have these issues, but nope. It's proven that where we are, things are still tight, and and so hopefully we will. Let me see whether it looks like it's still spinning. I'm going to add him until he comes on. But that's Dr. DUNSTAIN MWAUNGULU trying to come in. But let's kickstart the whole thing. We're talking, the reason I brought you guys over here is what we began to talk about last week. And we couldn't empty it out because too many things to talk about. And so many questions, no answers most of the times, because we ended up on saying, who is to blame, Let's introduce it again. So today, let me apologize to our viewers in the first place that if we spill over, we're going to make sure we carry this thing to about 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. I wanted it to be 7:30 to 8:30, but we're going to push it to 9 o'clock because we started a little bit late. Not only that, but we're trying to get everybody on board. So bear with us for the next 30 minutes. Hopefully, we can have this thing get going. So I'm going to begin this with the pastor, the man at the top. I admire your desire, your passion, that you preach the gospel, but at the same time, you want to serve the people the right way. Last week, you and me were talking, not just you and me, but I think if it was Constance as well, saying how I wish all pastors were social workers. And I think it's vital that all pastors are vetted in that regard, because I think it would do us a great deal as to how we protect our community. It's not shakalaba. You and me all, we're chatting about let's pray against the network and shakalaka. But when it comes to dealing with the people on the ground, tongues have to cease at some point where we become active as people with the normal brains, with the Holy Ghost in us, yes, but then let's become real with the people, so that we are not just saying, this is the devil right here. We kick the devil when actually the person needs real help. Man of God, I want you to start the show by explaining your position. Also, what is your heart in this regard? Pastor
All right. Thank you so much, Pastor Charles. Honestly, it's really a privilege for me. Number one, to be the president of Association of Social Workers in Malawi, and number two, also to be a pastor called by God Himself, and to be a social worker. I was saying last week that the best thing that can ever happen to a man is to be a social worker and at the same time to be a pastor. Because when you are a social worker and you're a pastor, you see things differently. You do things in a different way. You know, the world has changed. It's no longer like how it used to be in 1960s and so forth. Not everything needs prayer. You need social work interventions to help people out there. So I am here and very passionate about social work, and I love social work, and I love also to serve God. Thank you.
I want to say that is very powerful. Loving to serve God, and this is what it's all about. For me, you know, as a Christian, I want to know. I don't just end at speaking in tongues. You know, we don't just end at, you know, being, you know, hallelujah. You know, everything ends in the hallelujah. You know, somehow like the Holy Ghost is gonna, you know, just fix our communities just like that. I'm sorry, but it sounds drama, but I'm telling you, this is the kind of community I've grown up into, or grown up from, if you like, where, you know, to some extent, I have actually, I'm still maturing. Pastor Antonio, I'm still maturing to this very day to understand not everything. We pray, don't get me wrong, we pray, but some of these things, they just need you to get out of your house and act, be the answer to that prayer you pray to God. Get on your knees, talk to the Father, bless him, thank him, but then get out there and be active, you know? Or let me tell you, if you think I'm joking. So I was believing God to come to the United Kingdom. And guess what I did? I went to the mountain believing God that is going to drop some cash for me to buy an air ticket. I'm not joking, guys. That is the mentality of what I was raised from, thinking like God is just going to drop some money on a mountain. Just because I went to the mountain, then money should drop. If this God really is sending me with a burden, then all of a sudden he should provide money at the mountain. It's not like that, you know. So I just wanted to emphasize the fact that, you know, passionate to preach Jesus, but also passionate to help people. The totality of it. You know,
exactly.
So that we are not. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Let me just say something, Pastor Chance. Actually, like this very Sunday, I actually shocked the congregation because I brought the Maslow's hierarchy theory within my teachings. You know, the goal was to empower them. They need to know where they are. I said, all of us, we are dealing with these physiological needs. Don't just expect that God is just gonna take you to the self-actualization stage. You need to wake. You know, there's so much things. You need to understand where you are.
Yeah.
Okay. You need to have a plan, a working plan. Where are you going? Now this is July. Okay, where am I going to be in December? You know, so they really liked it. To many people, it was just an eye opener. So this is kind of some of the things, because there are just so many people in the mountain praying and trusting God. I'm expecting.
Thank you. Thank you. So many of them, like, get out of the mountain, get down on the ground, and do some work. That's the kind of the venom that you feel sometimes, like you should talk to people. It's all right to pray, but then after you believe him, go down on the ground in the valley. That's where the answer is. Anyhow,
exactly.
Margaret, sorry, we're just excited. You see, two pastors meet.
It's okay. I also wanted to come in and say,
go ahead, Margaret.
Very interesting. You guys will find it very interesting that I've actually created a label of a t-shirt. I have a t-shirt now. I have two of them that I actually, which read out, Jesus is the OG social worker, which is like the original social worker. So this is something that I came up with because I feel like he speaks a lot of social work in terms of his approach on how he lived his life on earth. So I don't want to go into the preaching, but I also wanted to divert you guys into a different direction in terms of, because we're talking about safety of communities. The other week, I was actually interacting with community policing people that ensure the safety of communities, which work hand in hand with the police. And one of the issues that they raised to share to me in terms of young people and children, they said that there are two things that they see are compromising the safety of people in the communities. The first one being the church, interestingly, and the second one being beer joints or taverns that are found in the rural communities. Yeah. So they talked about the church being something where you're talking about issues of night of prayer. Apparently, the church is where children are running to because it's so exciting. They'll pray the whole night, and churches are in neighborhoods. And they make all these noises, all this music, and all these things, and all these children are going to spend so much time. Also, children can't study in their homes, and these things were not there in the past, unfortunately. And then they talked about how these drinking joints are also existing within these communities where children would walk into any of those and they would easily get a drink and other things. So just to divert and bring into some of the issues that seem to really be compromising the communities, that the rural communities, because this was a rural urban community, but they were to say these are the two things they believe is compromising the safety of young people and diverting children into all sorts of things and getting them into all sorts of problems.
Very powerful. That is. Let me. So Margaret, I like what you said, that Jesus is the OG social worker. I love that. Meanwhile, I told you that network issues are not just in Malawi, guys. So let's not kill our Malawi. Actually, Margaret, your network is far much better than my sister over here. Yeah. What's the crack? What is happening with my sister? Why do you keep popping out?
No, I'm trying to get Justice MWAUNGULU on. So if he calls me, I'm using my phone, and I just couldn't. I couldn't. And
he is again. He's trying to come in still.
I know.
There's DUNSTAIN. I need you, Pastor Antonio. Come on, those deep times need to happen.
Please let the Holy Spirit do other things. Let God do other things. Like network is just the network. So
anyway, so from what Margaret has been able to speak. Okay, before let me revert to this. There's a question here, Margaret. I'll come to what you've just alluded to, but he is Christian. He says, "Have you?" This is to Pastor Antonio, I believe. "Have you, the blessed men and women of God, failed at your job?" Oh my days, Christian. No, we haven't. Okay. Anyhow.
Yes, they do. They have. I agree with you, Christian. There's a lot of work that needs to be done among pastors, and a lot of educating, because pastors are not regulated, and yet they deal with the most vulnerable people who come and trust them with a lot of issues, from domestic violence, from sexual violence, from all sorts, alcohol. They know the intimate details of people more than the authorities. So you're right. And if they're not regulated and they don't have any skills in terms of professional skills to help people, or even signpost them to the right places, then yes, the men of God have failed, because they have more access to vulnerable people than even social workers in most places. And these men of God, I'm not talking about just Christians. I'm talking about the mosques, the temples, even those who go to fetish priests, the singangas of this world, the people who don't believe in faith, all sorts of spiritual healing sectors. It's not just men of God as in Christian. We are talking about everyone across the board. They meet the most vulnerable people. So yes, I think they need to be educated around safeguarding vulnerable people. And most of them, I know we started off saying, from the Christian faith, those who believe, you grow up saying Jesus is the answer for the world today. Above him, there's no other. You believe that is it. So wisdom is not the the principal thing, because you're saying, well, as long as I tell Jesus, everything is okay. But actually there's more, and the more you get into the word, the more you understand that there are different dimensions of the word that people need to understand. But coming to apart from men of God, it's also every Christian's responsibility to look out for each other. It's not just the man of God; he's one person, or the imam, or the people who are spiritual leaders in different dimensions. I think we need to take it seriously that those people must be educated, and I think Rwanda is a good example that has made sure that if you want to be a pastor in Rwanda, you have to have a minimum education. And that is important. It's not taking away from spiritual guidance and the ability for the Holy Spirit to move among those people. But the most important thing is that the Rwandan leadership have understood the enormity of spiritual leaders and the responsibilities that they have over people. And they have to have a level of education that should respond to people's problems. And I'm not talking about going to university. I'm talking about just some education to understand the psyche of people and how they do things. I don't know. Antonio, you're a pastor and a social worker. What do you think? I know I kind of jumped in on that because I have very strong feelings. I think churches should be regulated, and we should know the level of people we are trusting with, the most vulnerable people. So, Antonio, what do you think?
I think that would be really necessary going forward. But my opinion is that at least the pastors should have the basic education in terms of social work. From my own understanding, is there is lots of trust for people. They trust us men of God. They don't trust people out there. They'll prefer to go to the man of God, explain everything what is happening with them. And then if the pastor, if you are not conversant, if you don't have the counseling skills, if you don't know some other basics, you just mislead the person. There are certain things that let's say, for example, issues of personal growth or personal development. Many pastors, they are not conversant with those things. As a result, they just because even they themselves, they will just say, okay, go to this, go to that, or do A, B, C, D, E. And some of them are even trying to manipulate people. All this, it's happening because there is lack of that basic education, kind of. And of course, there are also some that they never attended school and so forth, but they have the wisdom. They are able to direct their flock in a very right way. Spiritual things the way sometimes it really happens. But I second the point that we need to have pastors trained, have the basic one, or the issue of mandatory. Of course, that can take time, that can spark. Looking at the concept in Malawi, but that will also be necessary going forward, because I really want to put this important point, because there is a group of people. They are venturing into the God's work, the pastoral side, not simply because they have been called, but rather as a professional. This is where now we have a problem. So we have people that they go into this field because they have been called by God, and to them it's a work. There is a difference between a work and a job. All right, me as a social worker, it's my job, but as a pastor, it's the work that God called me. So I feel free. I can do it for free, I'm not there just to manipulate people for all these other things. But then we have this other group now. I'm not trying to justify myself. I'm just trying to bring a picture that can be clear to all of us. And then we have this group that will say, okay, if I didn't want to have a very good car, I need to be a pastor. That's where now it becomes a problem. You'll see they'll be cutting shortcuts.
What did you say, Margaret?
He'll get stoned for saying that. Accusing people wanting to get cars through offerings.
All the people getting cars, if they're stealing, I think what he's saying is that there are people who get in there to manipulate vulnerable people and get money of the system.
Can I get
sorry, Stefano, what do you think? You're not a pastor.
I'm not.
Are you planning to be a pastor?
I had a calling when I was young, so fortunately I didn't go.
Is that fortunate?
Fortunately, I didn't go.
Social worker. You heard.
I had a calling, to go to the seminary. I didn't go, and then of course. But what is being said now is, I think the question that was raised is very important and pertinent. To say all the people that are maybe involved in a lot of like Cashgate and other things, there are people that belongs to churches. And the question is, what is the church really teaching? If really people are being taught and then they're behaving the way they do. So I think that's a question of morality versus actually the spiritual issues. They are being brought to actually they are being challenged now. And that's why maybe we need a lot of education on our part, issues of morality, issues of integrity, issues of actually hard work and so many things. Because just like it has been alluded to by Pastor Antonio, my president, if people believe in just miracles alone, without actually accompanying work that brings in those things, then obviously the result is what really happens. People tend to manipulate people. I say, if you don't give, you are not going to get this, and so many things. But also we have seen a lot of cases of maybe sexual violence that has been perpetrated by the pastors in the name of maybe telling somebody, say, no, if you sleep with me, then you're going to have maybe you are going to conceive and what have you. A pastor is not supposed to use all those. We have cases of defilements and so many things happening. So yeah, it's a challenge, and maybe this is going to dilute the whole attention that people have on the esteemed men of God, because they are also supposed to stand way above, because we look up to them, just like social workers. I was saying we've heard a lot of stories. Fortunately, maybe for Malawi, our social workers have well behaved. That's what I believe. I don't know. Maybe I and Pastor we pray for them, but our social workers, seriously, on the moral point of view, they have really managed to do well. But we have seen a lot of pastors like prophets and these people that have really coming in to cause a lot of challenges. So yeah, that brings in a lot of challenges to the work that we do. But yeah, it's really a challenge, and it shows the gaps that we really need to address as the nation. Maybe as social workers, also we need to address these issues of morality, these issues of integrity, these issues of ethics. I'm a commissioner, by the way, so I've been interested in issues of ethics. Not only in whatever we do, we must ensure that we adhere to ethics, and we are protecting our clients in a note we're not harming people. Whether you're a pastor, whether you're a social worker, whether you're a teacher, whether you're a nurse, whether you're whatever profession, you're not harming the people, and you're not taking advantage of the closeness that your work brings you to the people. I think that could be the beginning point, and then you move on. But maybe also looking at the punishment that we can give, because basically one of the things that we must is people that have knowledge in whatever they are doing, whenever we're considering issues of punishments. Like in Malawi, if you are a civil servant and you commit an offense, it's supposed to be higher than just a common person. So I think this also should be considered for other professions. Like if you are a pastor, then as we have said, the vulnerability of the people will come to you with their secrets and what have you, and you take advantage of that. That could be the reason why people like those also get stronger sentences. Maybe I believe as an association in Malawi, we should be able to get to that, follow up to the cases and what have you, and ensure that justice really prevails. Otherwise, it's not okay.
And I think yeah, go on, Margaret.
Okay. I just wanted to also come in and say, like we've all spoken about how the church is usually not just the church as per se, because if we talk about Christianity, but religious people who are religious will probably turn to someone leading the different forms of religion that we have for support or help in times of need, because most of the religions give those provisions and those openings. And I remember recently, I'm a Catholic myself, and I remember recently attending a function with one of the bishops in Malawi, and I stood up and I said, "How are you how are we as a church ensuring that issues of mental health?" Because I'm a pro mental health person myself. Like the churches are a safe space where people can come and tell the things that they're really going through. Because I remember that bishop speaking so against abortion. So I said, the way you've spoken today, clearly, if I had aborted, I would not come to you if I'm uncomfortable or I don't feel safe, I don't feel happy. So I won't come to you clearly from everything that you said. So if I'm going to draw into a place that is the dark space, it's because I can't come to you, because that's the point that was my first point of contact. So I was talking about creating safe spaces, even in the churches, that are places, because most people in Africa and in Malawi particularly really trust religious, places as places that they can turn to and run to for that first aid. So Chilungamo spoke, so sorry, not to, he spoke about the issue of having maybe social work being trained, social workers being trained, people or pastors being trained in social work, or people that are leading in social work. But I think it's psychological first aid, very important, because that psychological first aid is so important to help people in a space, and they should be connected with the necessary help that is needed. So they should be connected with social workers, they should psychologists. I don't know if you guys were hearing me. I think my network kind of went bad.
We can hear you.
Yeah, we are hearing you.
Oh, yeah, right. So people should be connected with all of those things. They should have a network. There should be a link between the people and the services that they need, and not just the fact that someone comes to me. I always keep saying this. I think Pastor Antonio is going to hold.
I think we've lost Margaret slightly there. And I think just to take on that,
yeah,
unfortunately, she mentioned the Catholic Church, and I have to go and just address the issue of the Catholic Church. It's not alone. If a priest in the Catholic Church makes a girl pregnant, they will arrange that abortion. But if someone else comes in and they are preaching, they will not, because we have historical issues around sexual abuse in the church, and the Catholic Church have admitted over the years, same as the Church of England or Anglican Church, or the church institutions, but particularly the Church of England, where the Catholic Church, where marriage is not allowed. We've had so many abortions that have gone through arranged by those institutions. It is not a big secret. It is something that is being addressed, and again, it's those safe spaces, pastors having psychological and mental health first aid, imams in the mosques having those psychological and mental health first aid, so that when people come to them, they are supporting them. If people go to the singangas, those who don't believe in the churches, they should also understand psychological and mental health support. yes, it is their business, but you know, those issues will always happen. So they shouldn't keep people in bondage. I think it's really important to have those safe spaces. But I always say this, and maybe something, you know, talking about, is Malawi safe? Malawi is as safe as ordinary people because we can't all be social workers. It's everyone's business that our children are safe, our elderly people are safe. So that knowledge does not only belong to us social workers. It is every one of us in Malawi who should be worrying about our neighbors, checking out that they are safe. And if they are predators, like this Chinese man who is bringing in kids and playing around with children, and I think there was another Chinese man who was abusing women as well as children. When you see those people doing that, no matter how much money they're giving you, it has to be reported. So the safety of Malawian children or the elderly or even young girls or you know, young adults who are being trafficked in different ways, it's our national responsibility. It's not just for the social workers, or even today we've probably talked about pastors and imams and all the spiritual leaders, but they can't manage it all. There are deacons and deaconesses and the choir master, they ordinary people in those organizations. It's our responsibility to safeguard each other and make sure that our own are not being molested. And the other thing is, you know, when we talk about safety, it's also a lot of abuse happens in homes, not in the church, not in the schools, it's in the house. What are we saying as families in Malawi? How are we safeguarding in our own families? What is going on? You know, the maids, you know, that's another whole story about how maids are abused in homes. You know, the children in that house, there's so much going on in our own homes. It's easy for us to say, oh, it's the police, and we say it's out there, or it's the church, it's the school, it's Chanchanyoko. But at the end of it, it's in our homes. How are we safeguarding our children? So Pastor Antonio, you pick it up from there.
Yeah, you are very right, Astas. Actually, I think the whole conversation that we are having, it's really important. It's more of like we are going to the very root. We are finding we are trying to find the root cause of all these things. I absolutely agree with you. And actually, I said it last week that if we are to change our nation, then we have to invest much into families. The reason why we have all these broken relationships, we have all the abuse going on, it's because as a nation we haven't invested much on families. A family is very fundamental. Every thief in Malawi, every abuser has got a family. Of course, some of them we can say they have a church, but the majority of them, they don't even go to church. But they come from a family. So our understanding, our definitions of what is a family, and even the interventions that we have been putting on the families and so forth, it's just very minimal. Just very minimal. I tell you, there is a leadership crisis in terms of a family. We have men that don't have the responsibility. We have women that don't know about their responsibility. I'll give you an example from my pastor's point of view. People are supposed to be in a family or in a marriage based on a partnership. But today, because we haven't invested much on leadership, people are coming together based on their competing resources. They have a lady wants something else. You have a man is doing his own thing, and he feels challenged because of what the lady is doing and so forth. So if we take a family as an institution and invest the right knowledge and the right understanding, and the possibly also bring in these concepts of leadership and what have you, then we can make Malawi the better place for everyone. We have kids in the street, all those that were being exploited, they were coming from a family. You know, the reason why the Chinese was taking advantage, it was because of the very same thing. You know, people, I watched it and they were like, okay, we don't have money. Let me send the kid. Why could you have 7 kids if you can't afford it? Why do you need to have 10 children? You can't feed them. You know, so it's all about this institution as a family, and that's why I advocate for a change in the different interventions that we are putting in. We need to invest much, seriously invest much. So we have all these other things. We have NGOs coming to the families. We have churches. We have people. All of them, they are targeting this particular family, and some of them, they are confused. They don't know what to do. And with all economic oppression, majority of them, they will just allow their kids to do whatever they want to do, because we haven't invested much information on a family.
Okay. Yeah, just to chip in, you have reminded me on the Chinese. So I was asked a question by a reporter, you know. So she asked me, like, in this issue of like the Chinese, the one who was abusing our children, making like 300 videos every day. So she asked me to say, like, who failed in this this matter? Me, I said everyone has failed. Because when you look at the children that were being involved, they were coming from the homes, basically going there and performing those acts, and the chief and everybody. So, yeah, as it has been said, actually, maybe Astas has alluded to the issue of violence. In 2013, a study was conducted by the Ministry of Gender, and it found out that violence really is happening in 3 spheres. There's violence in the home, there's violence in the community, and there's also violence in the school. So these 3 levels, there is violence. And then again, when you look at in 2020, when the schools were closed due to COVID, I think the suspicion was always that maybe the home is a bit safer than the school. But it proved otherwise, that children are a bit safer when they are in school than when they are in the home, because a lot of violence really happened when the children were in the home, where they were supposed to have been safe. So these are the things that also we need to look into. Again, I think just to allude to the fact that you've already, man of God, have already alluded to the issue of the family. The concept of parenting really need to be emphasized. If you look at our policies in Malawi, they are tilting towards that. But now when it comes to actual implementation, I'll give you like the orphans and the vulnerable children policy, which was enacted around 2003 or thereabout. It says the extended family system shall remain the primary care structure for children, meaning that if the child has lost a parent, that's the first line parent, then the extended family should really take care of that. But basically what is happening now is that we are allowing our children to be exposed to a lot of shocks and risks. We are becoming so nuclear than we were in the past. So this is endangering a lot of children. Talking about the street-connected children that we have, like in our cities, some of them are becoming now a threat to the community. You find out that almost 90% or 95% of the children that we have in the street are coming from the homes. How do I know that? When we go for an operation, we get them to say, we have homes. Like one of the homes, Pastor Mundali, is the one that where Pastor Kisangalalo is working. We put them there, but obviously they run away. The reason is they have got a home. So they are there just because they know they are going to get something. So we need to strengthen this aspect to say, what are we doing in as far as issues of parenting our children is concerned? Otherwise, we have a lot of issues that could best be addressed if we strengthen the family. Because this root, if it shakes and we lose this root, obviously what happens next is the foundation is already shaken, and a lot of results that we are seeing are the ones that we are trying just to cope up. And this is not what we need to do as a country. We need to strengthen. I'm happy that the Ministry of Gender now has realized that where I work, and now they're trying to come up with parenting programs, because the parenting program that we have are so disjointed, because one of them is the one that targets at least children from conception to 2 years. But we are looking at how people can really parent their children from every level. Otherwise, we are losing it. We are becoming so nuclear. We are allowing even our children to suffer, brothers, children, or whatever, because of course I must also say this is also compounded by the issue of the economic hardships that people are facing. So it's like, let me have my own children. But there are so many things that we need to address. Like what you've said, maybe we need to regulate the number of children that somebody must have. I remember just recently there was a story asked us for Machinga, where a woman has 12 children and is asking for support. And now the question is, somebody gets to the first, second, so she was having twins, and having 6 times children, now getting to 12. Why can't you just stop maybe at 4 or 5 or thereabout? Because if you have children, they're having 2. And then you can think of that. Basically, those men could be arrested for failing to take care of the family.
But then, Sir Joseph, who's for really? I mean, in terms of, you can't regulate for somebody stopping giving birth, but you can educate them that there's need to stop. It's down to their choice really to stop, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. Basically, if they so the law will give it, if they are mentally sound. Yes, obviously, it's their what?
Are you telling me that somebody can give birth to 12 children without proper mentors?
We have a case now here where it happened. They are aware. All of us are aware. Pastor Mark must be aware. So 12 children, and then this guy goes to the chief. And the chief now asks for the community support. You see this woman, he has 12 children, he's looking for support, So the question is, this person is having a first set of twins, second set of twins, third set of twins, fourth set of twins, fifth and sixth. Obviously, this is a big challenge. And we need to understand how are we going to parent these children.
And that's where, instance, is this where then social workers come in to educate, probably, to try and reason to stop this thing in the bedroom? Come on, enough of 4, 6 is enough.
I think that's an ethical dilemma. It's an ethical dilemma, and I think we can all accept that it is. I think Stefano says something about, are they of sound mind? Why? Because when you look at your resources and where you live, are you able to look after 1 child, 2 children? When you get to 4, you start asking questions. Can I afford to take these children through school? When you get to 6, by the time you're getting to 8, then there's something not right there. If you can't feed those children, it becomes a safety for those children, because 1, those children will not have enough food. 2, their education attainment will probably be 0. And then what are you going to do? Then they are in poverty. And so there must be an issue of education, definitely, around even maternal health, even her physical health. Carrying twins is not easy.
It's not easy.
As if chance have you carried twins, even 1 chance, you haven't even carried 1, and you're saying it's not easy. It's not easy.
At least let's give you credit for empathizing.
No, but in essence, we've known childbearing is not. It's not. Let's be honest. I mean, okay, I have not been there much, but I have seen what this is all about. So 1 child is a problem to push. How about 2 children?
But the impact it has on the woman's health is an issue, and I think going back to the impact it has. So then when you get to 4, 6, then you start asking, is this woman okay? Is she safe? Then your education, you start looking at, look, are you okay? And it's not just the woman, this is the husband also. The husband is there. So we start talking, and we come from a very patriarchal system. So the chief should have spoken to the husband at number 6, because they would have been saying, where are you going, man? Are you able to afford this? Then we get to 8, and the chief is still looking, and then the chief's eyes are opened at 12. There is something wrong in that community. Apart from everybody, there must be some kind of contraception training that needs to go in there, because, you know, if those people get support, then is it everybody thinks, okay, it's game, we'll get more support. There's a lot that you could end up having problems in those kind of psychologically. You think the more children I have, the more support I'll get. And that's an NGO mentality as well. NGOs go in, and now they are introducing case management, person-centered case management. We pick, social workers go in and say, that one, will give them support. Then as a mom, you're thinking, okay, the more kids I get, they will get support. So there's a lot of things and ethical dilemmas that education is required. But like you said, the answer is not only in social work. I think there's also health there to look at, and to look at, you know, sexual reproduction information, and also the you know, like the life, the kind of you know, child to from 0 to 18, you are responsible for those children. I'm sure from those 12 children, if 5 or 6 are girls and 6 are boys, the probability of those girls having an education will be very low, because they'll probably prioritize the boys. So there's a lot of dilemmas that creates, but the chief should have started at number 6, not number 12.
So, Constance, so do you agree then with Mr. Joseph in the sense that probably there's need for regulation? If somebody is ignorantly saying this thing just happens naturally in the bedroom, do we need to regulate? Do we need to force them under certain kind of you know, so we stop them somewhere? If you hit 5, we take you we take out your womb, whether you like it or not.
No, you're talking about the womb. Me, I want to castrate the men too. You are saying the womb. Not just
I totally agree, because there's a big problem. We are just giving children
the problem is
all over the place.
The womb is not the problem.
No. Okay, wait, Constance. Let me hear what Margaret has to say before Joseph. Before you come in, no men coming in this one, because I see men saying, shaking their heads. No men. Let's talk to the women. They're saying probably there's got to be castration. What is your saying?
Finish that one. Go ahead. I was just backing that up, Anstas, in terms of castrating men.
Okay. Why? So let me just make a point. You say and you say the womb, and this is something that's happening at the moment around abortion, and the womb is never the problem, because a lot of times in terms of men having multiple partners, it's usually that way. So even if you close down the womb, the man will still be having children, and those children's safety is compromised. So let's not deal with the womb. Before you deal with the womb, you have to deal with the if we go back, this is a God, I can't remember what he calls it, God something program. If we go back to using the seed, it's the seed that is scattered everywhere. That is the problem. The womb is intact. It's in one place. It will not go anywhere. So the womb, leave it alone. Deal with the main problem. What is it? It is the issue of, are men able to be sterilized? Even here in the UK, men will refuse to have, when you're stopping to have children, they will not opt to have themselves snipped, as they call it. They it's almost like most African men will say, over my dead body. But the women will go and have, even in Malawi, I'm sure statistically, women will go and have sterilization, but never a man. And I'm looking at your faces. You're all going, Anstance, I'm not even going there.
Yeah.
But you're right, Anstance.
Yes.
I think the reality is that men get away with it. They get away with it. They get away with it. And this is something that people tell you the reality is, like, there are more women than men in the population. So men have an opportunity to get as many women as possible. And sadly, they're going to young children, they're going to all these categories of women, every age group of women that they're giving and bearing children with. And it's very sad and pathetic. And you expect women, and they're leaving responsibilities with these women. And this is what exposes and creates more.
Are you not becoming dangerous?
Young people.
Say that again.
I think let me just the issue of castration. That one is a very big thing. To castrate a man, I know it's
why is it a big thing, Pastor Antonio? Why is it a big thing? Because the problem is not just it's not a woman, actually. Let's be honest. What? Because the reality, I mean, if I was to side with the women, I mean, after giving birth 3 times, being cut in between, I don't know whether she was giving normal births, but I mean, surely as a woman, there's some fear that grips in to go again under the knife. So it should be then, probably the males need to be castrated, to stop this thing.
You're pointing the males, not us men, us men.
Maybe.
Okay, fine.
The way is castrate men. That's too crude. Obviously,
Stefano.
You don't see women complaining. You don't find a woman complaining that she has to. She has
but
to
they are
go
not.
and
They're never castrated. So obviously, let's think of obviously, maybe is after castration meaning vasectomy, right?
Yeah.
yes.
Stop the man from functioning.
Yeah.
No, there's a difference. That's not what it
There's
is.
a difference. There's a difference.
Okay.
That's why I'm like, no.
Not functioning. It's not about function. It's the fact about stopping from reproducing.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Okay,
am I talking about so castration and versus vasectomy? But vasectomy is just a simple operation. But castration men, obviously, it means no. That's a total damage to the man.
Stefano, this is too big for you, right? Anyway, listen. Let's not dwell on this one, guys. Because of time, I'll have to override. Let's answer this question a little bit. Okay, let me draw you all to this question. Christian again. I like Christian. Thank you so much for your discussions. Here's another question, which probably I'd like to to pose to you guys. He says, you talk about Susu, the nasty Christian or Chinese man, and those young children. What about Madonna has turned poor old David Banda into? I'm sure you have seen the images. Is that not just as bad moral decay? As much as it is moral decay, we're talking about, I think you guys, it stems from where we're talking about in terms of too many kids to have. We will not have a say. We will not have control. If somebody says, let me help you out, you will feel like, whoo, heaven has helped, isn't it? I mean, you're failing to look after them yourself. Who wants to jump into this? And first of all, let's talk about this. Anstance, I know you're boiling. Madonna, here's a scenario now. I mean, in the question of Christian is this not moral decay? What do you have to say about Madonna turning our children into something else? I mean, you don't even know whatever.
Yeah. Okay. So I think for Madonna, I would say maybe we missed it when she was adopting. So basically, our laws are a bit like maybe they need some revision. Where whenever we have seen maybe a lot of things like maybe intercountry adoptions, because the issue of Madonna is that Madonna adopted, and our law, according to the child, what we call Children's and Young Persons Act, Chapter 2601 of the laws of Malawi, adoption is irreversible. So basically, that's it. And there is what we call the implications for adoption, meaning when you adopt, one of the key things that adoption law will effect on you is that you lose your nationality, you lose your identity to that one who is what we call the adoptive parent. So basically, one of the key challenges that we can see for Madonna was the issue of assessment, and maybe I would say that time when Madonna was adopted, it was a bit political, because Madonna was supposed to have stayed in Malawi for 6 months or thereabout. And that one, it passed. I wish Justice MWAUNGULU was here, because the judgment for Madonna was said because Madonna did not satisfy all those conditions. He did not stay in Malawi enough to adopt a Malawian child and what have you. But what allowed Madonna to get that child was what we call the doctrine of necessity, saying the boy was suffering and it was necessary for Madonna to adopt that boy. So basically, that's what happens. And it's a very good lesson to say what is happening. So there's a lot of debate now. People are debating to say, I remember like even the minister really asked about that, to say, what is it that we can do about this? But then people are looking at the law and saying the law is just so limited in that particular aspect. So it's not good what is happening. But basically, it is also another key thing for social workers, because basically what happens for adoption to pass is that the court will always, what happens under that law is that the process of adoption in Malawi is that when a petitioner, that is somebody who wants to adopt, has filed for adoption, obviously that will be filed via an affidavit to the court. The court will always produce what we call the motion, and in the motion they will appoint what we call the guardian ad litem, in this case, which is the Minister of Gender, appointing a social worker. So it is incumbent upon the social worker to assess that particular case. But what is happening, of course, is a sad reality to say, is it only because of the culture, the different cultures, or maybe we pay too much attention to David, but then we don't see the other children, Messi and others, being in the same scenario. So it's really sad, but that also brings lapses in our law.
Mr. Joseph, then I go back to probably what you've just alluded to say, then probably something is wrong with our laws. Instance, would somebody come over to the UK to adopt a child and go back to Malawi? Is that allowed?
You can, but you have to satisfy, you can satisfy certain things. One of them is, especially when you do a cross-culture adoption, especially in this case where there are two cultures involved, the young boy is whether they've adopted their parents' nationality, they will always be African American. Okay, why? Because your identity still remains with who you are in your DNA, and you will always have that as who he is. David will always be David Banda. I think he is David Banda, isn't he? So what I want to say on that is that respecting the culture of that young person's identity is very important. Why? Because every time we see those images, I don't see that child any other way than, yes, Madonna's son, but he's also still a Malawian child. And that child will always be associated with Malawi, no matter how, whether we've been in diaspora. I was never born in Malawi, but I always identify myself as Malawi. Why? Because that is my DNA. It stems from there. I have never lived there longer than 2 years, but my DNA is always in Malawi. So when I come here, and I do something, everybody will relate to me as a Malawian, no matter whether I have a British passport or not. But what are we saying about the images that we are seeing? And Christian, you're right. I was absolutely shocked by them. And Madonna loves shocking. She likes media. That's her thing. She loves to put things out there that provokes, which is fine. But she's a mother. And the particular photo that you're talking about, when you look at it, it wasn't a loving mom hanging out with her son. The image was almost erroneous type of love, the kind of very sexualized type of love. That is our interpretation. And anyone can say, oh, Anstance, oh, that's just, in fact, one of my colleagues, friends said to me, oh, but that's just a mom giving a kiss. I said, no, there is the different lenses that we are using. My lens is telling me that is very sexual pose. And I would never pose with my dad like that. I wouldn't expect a father to pose with their child like that. If we saw, I don't know if Madonna is married at the moment, if we saw another man, Mercy, sitting and posing like that, we would all be saying and questioning it. David is still 16. He's not an adult. He can have a different identity if he wants to express himself in different ways, all sorts of pronouns, or dress up in a different way. I think there was also a picture of him wearing a long dress. It didn't bother me. Other people say,
a Gucci dress.
A Gucci dress, but hey, I've got Muslim brothers who wear dresses. So if they decide to wear a Gucci dress, it doesn't really bother me. So men wear dresses or skirts, it doesn't worry me. It didn't, but someone else was bothered by it. I wasn't bothered because I've seen Muslim men wear dresses and Scottish men wear skirts. But it was the kind of image that was very sexual. In my Malawianness or Africanness, I was offended. But I would equally be offended if Mercy was such also doing the same thing. Now, I have seen Mercy, I think she loves music, she plays the piano, she gets on with, well, there's another person, if we're talking celebrities, who has adopted cross-culture, and it's Angelina Jolie. You never see those kind of images. In fact, she encourages the children to go and do things culturally appropriate for where they come from. And also they're in America. So America exposes them to different things. So I do have an issue with that particular photo. Why? Because it was very sexualized, and Madonna likes attention, fine. But he's 16. I would still question that if a mother was posing in and a boy was posing in that way. And it could just be both of them. He's taken after her in terms of attention seeking. That's fine. But he's 16. He's still a child. And if she was a girl posing with a father like that, I would still have the same problem with that photo. So Christian, yes, I found it very offensive. And, I have no problem with, other people saw it as always poverty. And I was offended even that for me, our poverty is such that we can, ignore certain things. I don't think so. I think we should safeguard our children even more when they are starting off from places of disadvantage, and we should give them a chance so that they're not reminded, because he'll be reminded all the time, oh, look at where you came from and this is the way you are behaving or whatever. But the boy, I think he's got a lot of confidence. He's very handsome, thank God. He's just, he's thriving, but it's worrying about how Madonna is using that to publicize herself. She can do that without the aid of a 16-year-old boy. If he wants to become famous, he can do that without the help of kind of sexualized images with his mom. I think that one, I don't blame the boy, I blame the mother. I wouldn't do that as a mom.
I mean, let's be honest. You definitely, the blame goes to to Madonna, of course, and probably the parents in what they. You've alluded to say the truth of the matter is that because of our poverty lines, we will fall for anything, really. We will not cross-check as to whether this is necessary for my child to go this side. I mean, you have been over here. Even though you're over here, you're raising your children a different style, because as much as they are in the UK, there is there are morals that you hold on to, which sometimes you find you hardly find on the ground over here. And if you're not careful, our children get swept in I've got the rights, and I want to be this and I want to be that. But you as a parent, instance, you stand up and be able to correct, to strengthen, to straighten. But I think the problem, again, like we're saying, I think then it comes down to our poverty lines. Now, Margaret, you've been quiet too long, and probably Pastor Antonio. I want to come to you, Margaret. So there's a battle here. It's not just one front. We are fighting many fronts, but then again, like you alluded last time, being underfunded is not helping even the cause. This is something that is left to itself. Hence, anybody can play in it the way they want it. You have had the problems where you want to legislate this thing or register. You talked about this before. This is where the problem is. We're fighting this thing. We're being fought from different fronts. Did you understand, Margaret, what I said?
Yeah, I do. I think the reality is the poverty levels indeed in Malawi leave us in such vulnerable situations. And
which then makes, like I said, it makes it difficult.
Sorry?
So I'm saying it makes it difficult. The poverty levels make it just too much.
Of course. And unfortunately, if you realize, most of the checks and balances are done after we've made a decision and not before we've done a decision. So like Anstance also said, if you go to Madonna's page, you see the lifestyle. Actually, it's very clear. It's right there in our faces. But we were not able to see that before the process happened. Why?
Should that then fall on us to say we didn't cross-check about our lifestyle?
It is. Someone didn't do their job and they didn't do it right. And I remember though, there was an uproar at that point in time. I think the time when Madonna wanted to adopt, there was a lot of issues. There was a lot of outrage in Malawi. It was a very big issue because I think she was denied at first. And then people came into the aid to say, no, you know what, you're refraining her from taking the children, blah, 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 blah. People came in. And unfortunately, I've learned in Malawi, we tend to want to compromise on the law and issues when we think serves, a certain thing. We are so, I don't know. It's like there's this thing whereby we just react without really thinking and really considering the factors and issues to really sit down. And I'm sorry, sometimes I do agree with the former president, Arthur Peter Mutharika, who says Malawi is a lawless country. We've got the laws that are there. It's clear.
We don't implement them.
But people don't implement them.
We choose.
To compromise.
We choose where we want to implement the law.
They're always ready to compromise, and it's so pathetic. So those are some of the realities that do that. And what leads that is because we make ourselves so vulnerable to the poverty, and then there's that greed that comes along. It's the people who are really poor, and then those that don't want to lose the wealth that they have. They want to accumulate more and more and more and more. So it goes both ways, in both directions, I think.
Because if somebody, like you've just said, Margaret, if somebody did the job proper, those that were entrusted with letting this boy go, if they did their jobs proper, they shouldn't have allowed this boy to go. Maybe again, it's the case of...
Let me come in there.
They were swayed by the public.
That was done. That was done. That, Pastor Chancy, that was done. People really refused to say the child should not be adopted. That's why maybe, as Margaret said, in Malawi, the court that allows somebody to adopt is the High Court. So the people there then, on the basis of the law, refused to grant the adoption. And the adoption really went on up to an appeal That's when actually in fact, the adoption of that boy was done based on what we call the doctrine of necessity, because the circumstances that were supposed to be fulfilled then were not. So that's what happened. So just like what Margaret has said, basically the challenge that we have here is that we choose who to apply the law to. I'll give you an example, very big example, that what happened just Saturday. There was in the law here in Malawi, it says you must not keep a boy, a young boy in custody, in police custody. Rather, before 24 hours, that boy must be brought before the child justice court, and then all the processes must be done. There was a boy, a standard 8 boy in my district where I'm working. He was really apprehended by the police in Bangwe, and he was brought in the cell. And then the story came in, and then the parents really negotiated or whatever. The boy was never released. And then they called me. And then I said, I called the police. I said, no, maybe the boy is not there. I said, okay. Then Sunday morning, yesterday, they called the boy. They didn't release the boy. I said, this is now too much. Then I called and we took the magistrate there. And I said, our law doesn't allow this. And you want to tarnish the image of the police, the image of everybody, the president and everybody. So they said, okay. And then they said, no, we are afraid because there's somebody here who works at, he's a police officer also at the State House. So he's the one that is involved where the child is suspected to have stolen. I said, but the law is the law. So, that's the challenge about the law here. People do choose.
Stefano,
yes.
Stefano, there, whoever is you are dealing with, can they be reported to the right authority? Because they're not, why are they overriding the law when the law actually says you cannot keep an standard 8-year-old in custody? I don't care who it is, but should they not be reported then?
Yeah, okay. So I think people do apply the law based on what they think. So for us, indeed, what made the boy to be released now was the action that I took to bring in the magistrate right there at the police station, and then we managed to rescue the boy. But then when you look at the issues that people are talking about, very simple issues, and these are the issues that can even tarnish the image of even the president and everybody.
They talk about how these are they are committing very serious crimes. These young boys, more than an adult.
People will tell you stories. Like me, I've done a lot, and as a social worker in my practice, I can tell you, Astas knows, I've done a lot for this country. There was a time in Zomba. Before this, the previous government, the Chinese was transferring children from Zomba to Lilongwe, and then in a certain after past Machinga, he was apprehended by the police. And then after that, they took him back to Zomba, and by that time I was in the office. And then they called me and said, we have apprehended the Chinese who was transferring children, whatever. I said, no, this is not supposed to be like that. So he was arrested. And after being arrested, I tried to follow up. Just some minutes, he was released. And I told them, they said, if you have released that child, if I have released the Chinese, I'm coming. You're going to answer. I'm going to take this matter to the ACB and what have you. Yeah. So they took him in. So when they took him in, then they realized my name was taken up and said, this is the guy now that is very difficult. So the story went there up to the powers and what have you. When it's there, then it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. When it was Monday, the ambassador for China went to the ministry and talked to people there and said, I understand our Chinese national is in custody, and the social worker is very difficult there, because even the police even were saying, we are ready to release, but the social, it was not because the law has been violated.
Stefano, but it was, on what grounds were they ready to release? On what grounds? That's the
reality.
Because he's a national, somebody, a foreign national. It was just because he's a foreign national, so he qualifies to be released because of that and what have you, So immediately I received the calls from the minister, from the deputy minister, saying the president is not happy because this one. But I said, it's not me. I don't have arresting powers. This is the guy that was doing So, just to concur with Margaret is saying, whenever we talk about laws here, you don't operate under the same standard, because even by enforcing the law, sometimes you are seen as somebody who is difficult, who is trying to break the law, like whatever. Like what I did yesterday, I knew if I'm not going to take action as a social worker, this child will going to be in police custody, even up to today.
For no reason.
And the image, the child will just be today, he wouldn't have been in school today. He was not eating, he was not whatever, but I had to take that action and make sure that by yesterday, the boy is released, and the stories, people were there, they wanted even to take the whole matter to so many media houses. They showed me to say what would have happened. Even the image of the president would have been dated, even the social workers, the image would have been dated, and what have you. But I managed to save the situation. So basically, just to concur with what Maggie said, our law, what we do here in Malawi is we apply the things based on who we choose to focus on.
Selective justice.
That's what put a lot of people now to just to pause and look at things as they happen. But that's not what we are supposed to do.
No.
Me, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die for children. I'm going to fight like that. Thank you.
Listen, Stefano, I clap for you because we need people like you. And I know all of us here, we've got this heart. We need, I was saying, let me, even, the other day I walked past and I see some mischievousness happening in front of the cop, the policeman. And I pull my head up and I'm like, so this is happening under your nose and you can watch it. And you have there's no ounce of them wanting to sort. Here's a guy who's literally pulled through the traffic. All of us are stopping. Then one person, I don't know how connected he is, but he's able to go through these people messed up, like literally, spitting in their face. Like whatever you're doing is useless. Now I'm like, you guys have allowed him to go, and then yet you're holding us to account for our mistakes, whatever it is. So who's dealing with him? They just looked at me as if I'm joking. Now, what I'm saying is, if everybody could have this kind of a heart, where, this kind, because look at this, how stupid is that they are releasing someone who was with the children, who was doing it illegally, the Chinese, and then they are wanting to detain a child who is underage, who should be released. I mean, this is a misplaced, it's just so heartbreaking. But this is what, Pastor Antonio, when you find things like this then makes us to say, the questions like what Christian said there then makes sense. Have we failed to educate our people, in such a way that, morality seems to be, to be thrown out just like that. Yet on a Sunday morning, that policeman takes up the heart, goes to church to worship.
Yeah, exactly. Not only the church, the civil society organization, we have all failed.
Of course.
I think we really need to go back to our drawing board. Actually, this is not only. I'm actually waiting for. I've been following the social case. I'm told he's in Zambia, but I really doubt if our government has made efforts to bring him here. I really doubt. Honestly, I have got doubt. And actually, maybe for him to be
efforts have been made for him. He's coming.
For him to be in Zambia, it's a relief because it seems like they are more of they are happy with the relationship that is there between Malawi and China. Whatever Chinese, how much money they are putting on the infrastructure. But like we said last time, what is infrastructure? What is all these other developments?
If people are just smothered just like that, or can be.
Yeah, let me take my colleague here head on. We even have a child care institution owned by Chinese. We hear so many abuses there. So many abuses. Our children are being tend to be kung fu kind of guys, but they are less effort.
They learn Confucianism.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, nothing is being done because, hey, they come from China. This is where now we need to change. This is where now we really need to do something honestly. And I feel on the demonstration that we had that was there, and it was not enough. I think we need to have more of this because we are tired. We are really tired with all these things that is happening. And coming back to the issue of adoption, maybe before I go back to the issue of adoption, I recently attended a meeting. The invite was sent by my colleague here. We went there and we were discussing issues of children not to be arrested at all. You know, it says the law is very clear. It's very, very clear. You don't need to imprison a child. Very, very clear. Now, when it was a gathering of magistrates and the police, and I found it very shocking because some of them were like, we don't know the Child Protection and Justice Act. We have never seen it. And
that's it.
Magistrate.
That's it.
And some of the police. And I'm like, what? Are you really serious about this?
And the police who claim they don't know the gazetted safe homes for the children to go to.
But sometimes, Maggie, and that is true. I recently were doing we were actually conducting the monitor with the Malawi Human Rights Commission, and some of them they don't even know the child care protection. Let me say this: we used this act. I remember there was a mother here in Blantyre who ran away from her children. So 4 children in Dylan. I think Pastor Antonio knows that, and the children were really like wasting, losing it. The youngest was 1.5 years in Dylan there, and the oldest was around 12. So the mother ran away. 4 months the mother was not there, and after that then the issue was reported. I went there. We picked up all the 4 children. I said, I've taken these children, but that's the mandate of me. I can declare the children as children in need of care and protection under Section 23 of the Child Care Protection and Justice Act, Section 23, subsection I. So the social worker has that power to declare a child as a child in need of care. And we took them to a safe place. And that immediately at the police station, the mother appeared and said, I have appeared, I need my children. I said, what? You've allowed the children all these months to waste like that? So the police was like, let's give her. I said, then I'm not a social worker. So what should we do? I said, the mother should be arrested. So the police were like, under what charge? I said, so they didn't even know the child care protection. Just I produced that.
It's the reality.
In Section
and
3.
They fight with the law so much. They'll fight and defend for the law.
Yes,
and
Section 3.
Against the law.
Yes, yeah. So Section 3 of that act. So I said, okay, but we need you in court. I said, that's my duty as a social worker. So on the day I was taken to the court, I went there, I testified. And when I testified under that section, Section 3 of the Child Care Protection, because it talks about the duties and responsibilities of parents and guardians of children. So it says there are so many things, you can Google that and read. And then even after testifying on that, the mother was arrested. 2 years, we took the children. Even the magistrate came to my office. He's now my friend. He said, so we have that good law or which you can use. I said, yes, we have at your disposal. So now, that's what happened. After a month or thereabout. Yes, yes, after that, then there came the father of the children appeared. I came to my office. I said, I want to get my children. I said, your children? Oh, thank you very much. What a good man you are. I go to the police. They picked the man. He went to the same process 2 years again. So they are himself. So the laws are there, but we just need people that should understand how best these things work. One, we should not be applying what we have already said, selective justice. We must all agree. If I'm going to the court, it must not be like this knows this knows that, this knows whatever. No, then we're not going to win the fight. Yeah, I think, yes.
So the
Yes.
question, my question then probably would be, so there's need for more people like you in our community who can stand up to such injustices happening for us to really do effective work. And then it boils down to what Margaret said, alluded last week, underfunded. Or, there's not much of you guys in Malawi who actually can enforce the law to be able to secure the future of our children, even the vulnerable,
Yeah. Yes, there's a lot that needs to be done.
And
A
just
lot.
to say on that, this is where we've started. We've got a long way to go, and we need to ensure that we put in a system that supports the social workers. It supports what we are doing on the ground. It also supports us getting into the police, because the police needs guidance. They also need to understand that the laws are there. And Malawi has beautiful policies that are sitting in Capitol Hill that nobody really reads. So we need people to understand that we've got it. And we've got people now, University of Malawi, Chancellor College, Magomero, DMI, and Catholic University, they are all churning out social workers. I think Millennium or something like that, Lilongwe University, they are all working with social workers, bringing, educating people. So there are people who are ready to pick up this job, but they need to be a system that works for them, and the resources have to be there. And I always say this, there is always a social welfare office in every district in Malawi. The NGOs can't reach our vulnerable people, but social workers are there in every district of Malawi. So I think that, we should really invest in social workers. Chisangala, do you want to say? I think we're almost done.
We're almost done, and that's what I wanted to say, that we're almost done. Margaret also has to go because, there she's gone. But Chisangala, do you want to say something?
Yeah, of course. I want to agree with what Astas was saying. There is a lot that needs to be done. A lot that needs to be done. A lot of interventions that we need to engage the magistrates. A lot of interventions that we need to do with the police, people in the community, and so forth. We are happy that there is so much investment now. Social workers coming from the University of Malawi. But again, we need to have an uptake system where these social workers are contributing to the system, because it's not only enough to have them trained, to have people that have trained in the social way, but then if we're not making use of them. So we need to create a system where we can take them on board, you know what I'm saying? If we have them on board, and then here we have another issue now of the government institutions. That it has to be really funded, because it's a very I've worked with Joseph for so long now, and with the other. I'm telling you, there is a potential if we have funding. You see, they often fully funded. We can have a vibrant social work system in Malawi. But then the problem is always the priorities, the priorities of our government. They would want to have a very good road, and then there's poor social services, things like those. So if we really advocate for funding, he's currently struggling, like here, my friend. He's having just holding the position, but funding for him to do it.
And I believe, Pastor Antonio, I believe then this comes under your mandate to be able to try and push the government to put heart and soul into this, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. You are very right. That's why I was saying we, Anstance and all ourselves, have been pushing for the bill. And again, once we have the bill, then we'll have our voice heard. But currently, we really want to take advantage of the current situation so that we can also push for him. Like I said, I'm very much anxious about what is happening now with these Chinese nationals and so forth, because it's really demeaning our work, and it's showing the gaps that are there within our system that we really need to improve, and we really need also to advocate for those particular gaps, like issues of the resources,
Listen, I pray that my desire is that, next time we meet again, we're going to come back, maybe not now, a month to, I want to give it a time where probably of what we've voiced out, we're going to push this in the right directions, and hoping that probably a month, 2, 3 down the line, we can have a response to where this is actively accepted and being practicalized, if you like, where we put the right people in the right places, the likes of Stefano, let them be multiplied, to stand up for those that need.
Amen. And I think, you know what?
So this is our prayer for Pastor Antonio, and of course all of us. This is our prayer that God is going to multiply the social workers, people with a good heart, people that are not just wanting a backhand to be doing their jobs. Most people, sometimes feel like to do something like that, you gotta have to know someone, to stand up for somebody else. You gotta have to be no. But this is, for the people like Stefano, he understands it's my responsibility to stand up for those that are voiceless and powerless. So listen, guys, we don't have much time. I want to thank you for coming on. Stefano, thank you for coming on for the first time, but I pray that next time, listen, Stefano, listen, I want you next time to be stable, because I've been so unstable and I'm thinking what's going on. But I hope next time we'll have you more stable. And listen, I've enjoyed your energy. I've enjoyed your emphasis. It feels Malawi has the right people. Listen to me again. It feels Malawi has the right people. It's just that sometimes they've not been given the opportunity to be in the right places, in the right fronts. I do believe that. And I know Anstas is nodding. This is true. We've got people with a big heart that want to serve a community. I remember, Anstas, I don't know whether you saw that one, but I remember on my wall, I actually said, let's put people that have a community at heart, regardless of their status, whether he has a degree or not, whether they have PhD or not, but people that can make everybody in the community safe and progressing, safe. And let's do this together. People who such, let them be elevated to positions where they can be able to channel others and says, this is how we do it. I mean, to have Stefano speak the way you're speaking in the issues that you have been able to stand up and be able to intercept certain kind of malpractices. If we had 20, 100, 1,000 of you, Malawi is better. So listen, we can cry, we can talk, but we said last week, Constance, if you remember, that surely the buck stops with the government at the top there. Somebody's sitting over this. They know there is too much ammunition in our country. We cannot fail. We shouldn't be failing for a small country like Malawi. I mean, UK, as big as it is, it manages to deal with everybody equally. There's nowhere where you go and feel like you're not being taken care of. A social worker in Northampton, a social worker in London, a social worker in Manchester, they're equally doing the best job they could ever in terms of looking after the people. Why should we be failing for a little country like Malawi? These are questions that will be left sometimes unanswered. But listen, guys, thank you so much. I know we can start again. We could go on for hours. But thank you so much, Anstas. Thank you for having us to channel this. We're going to have to do this again. And hopefully next time we may have the big man with us who tried to come on today, but for some reason we couldn't have him. I don't know, could do with the gadget he's using or the network. But all in all, this was a fruitful discussion, and I pray that we will push this in the right places. The Lord bless you so much. Pastor Antonio, thank you for coming on. And Stefano, thank you. God bless you guys. Anstas, thank you. I will see you soon.
Good night.
Bless you.
Bye.
Okay, so that's how we ended the session tonight. Sorry that I was in and out because I'm in the office working at the same time, but trying to coordinate. What a wonderful, fantastic group of people that have ideas and we're speaking from their hearts. Malawi, you've got the best people and they're proud people who want to see the nation succeed. It's important that we all cherish what we're talking about. I mean, we cannot just talk about corruption in the bigger offices when there is actually, even on the ground, there's stuff we can do, which we can eliminate some ignorance and to make our people be self-reliant or able to handle themselves and be protective from the vouchers, if you like. These discussions ought to happen. You know, we are not going to be an overnight turnaround nation that's blossoming and blooming and all that, but we can do it slowly. And I want to thank once again Unstains for just channeling us to be able to talk about these issues. And I believe that this is going to be kept on record. We will play this again and again. We will do clips where we can play this so people can listen. Sometimes we just need to brainstorm. And let's not just point fingers, but let's begin to do something that we can do. Even in the highest offices, we will poke them out so they can do the right things. But God bless you so much for being here tonight. Once again, it's Chance, your host for God, Church and Politics. I'll see you again soon. God bless you. Have a good night. Bye-bye.